What's up, football fans? The Premier League is finally back, and this is the review of game week 1. A lot of new faces in the league, some new managers at the helm, and a lot of exciting fixtures, and it's going to be exciting. Let's get straight into this one. That right there is how you start a Premier League campaign. The scoreline may show a 4-2 victory to Liverpool, but this was a hard-fought victory, and it was a game that both sides really did everything that they could. This game could have been very different though. If we look at Bournemouth's back four, we know that 3 of their players were sold. Milos Kerkez, of course, now a Liverpool player. Then we've got Dean Huijsen, who joined Real Madrid, as well as Ilya Zabarny, who has left, I think, to PSG. And obviously in the scoreline, that did show that losing those 3 players made a massive difference in the team. But Truffert, the player who has replaced one of the fullbacks, has been phenomenal. He had a good game, and if it wasn't for some other chances or chances that weren't taken properly, he could have also had some assists in this game. But going back to one of the biggest talking points in the first half, it was a handball decision. Marcos Senesi was sort of one-on-one with Hugo Ekitike, and the ball came, and he then nudged the ball, and then he took his hand and he swiped at the ball. It was almost like, it looked like a basketball type of thing, and it looked like his fingers did make a connection with the ball, but the referees did not see anything in it, and neither did VAR. However, if that was allowed, then the scoreline could have been completely different, and Bournemouth would definitely have been in a way tougher position than what they were. But not too long after that, Hugo Ekitike then scored on his debut, and obviously he's been a good player, and he's really shown that he can be that replacement that they needed for Darwin Núñez. And then into the second half, just a few minutes in, he assists Cody Gakpo. To start off with a goal and an assist is a massive contribution in his very first game at the club. And even though Liverpool had a 2-0 lead, they were still under a lot of pressure because Bournemouth kept on pushing and they kept on trying to get that goal back. The goals did come in the 64th and 76th minute, courtesy of Antoine Semenyo. Of course, a phenomenal player last year for Bournemouth, and I think he's going to be really good this season as well. Just something on that side, there was also an incident where Liverpool fans were being racist towards Semenyo, using some sort of racial slurs. Liverpool have confirmed that they are willing to support the police in their investigation, so hopefully that does get resolved. Then Federico Chiesa came off the bench. It was 2-2. He came on in the 82nd minute. In the 88th minute, the ball landed to him in the box, and he just volleyed it, and it was a beautiful goal. Well struck, and really something. Endo then played a ball towards Salah towards the end of the game. It was just before the game ended, and Mo chased it, and he scored it. One thing to point out though as well, Milos Kerkez was a bit shaky at the back, but all in all, very good. If there was anything that this match showed us, it was definitely that Newcastle United absolutely lacked Alexander Isak, and they needed him in front. In all honesty, Gordon and Ilanga did put in a shift that I think was decent, but I don't think it was good enough. It was nowhere near what they needed. Even Bruno Guimaraes in defence, Joe Linton as well, they weren't taking the chances that they really should have, and I think they wasted a lot of the chances that they did have. And even though this game wasn't one of the best that I've seen Newcastle play, Aston Villa did everything in their power to hold them. And this is another game that they've had without Isak, and they've struggled to score. So this could be something that you look at and you could be thinking that if this Isak problem doesn't get resolved, they're going to have to find another striker very soon. And I know they are looking at other players, but they're going to have to find a new striker very soon, because what I saw in this game was just not anywhere near good enough, wasting a lot of their chances. Villa were making something out of nothing, and they were fortunate to hold Newcastle, I'd say, but Newcastle were more fortunate to have had Villa not get past them or score anything. I think one of the main talking points of this game was the change in Villa's game after Ezri Konsa was given his red card. Was the red card? Absolutely. He was the last defender, and he pulled the Newcastle player down. It looked like he pulled him, tugged on his shirt, but then he brought the player down, and of course, as last man, bringing a player down and it's a foul, you're most probably going to get yourself a red card. Then also looking at the new keeper for Villa, Bizo, could he be the perfect replacement for Emi Martinez? Not too sure. I don't think Newcastle tested him well enough to know whether or not he was brilliant, but he did have a good game. He did get his clean sheet. So for now, I think he is a good player, but we'll see when they're tested against a side who actually takes their chances. Another thing that I found quite interesting was, even though Villa were a player down, they kept on attacking, and later on in the game, John McGinn was taken off and Daniel Marlin was put on. And it was a good change because he was sort of bringing a bit of life into Villa's play. But Villa were just unfortunate. They could actually have won the game. They did have some decent chances, but once again, unlucky. And they were really under a massive amount of pressure, being one man down against the Newcastle side who kept on pushing and pushing. Another thing though about Newcastle's attack, Harvey Barnes was also one of the front three, and I don't think he did too much, but he could have done better as well. But a player that came on, William Osula, I would like to see him start in future, and who knows what could come of the youngster's career. All in all, disappointing from Newcastle, decent from Villa. This was another one of the games where anyone could have won it, and it just ended up being a draw. But the fashion in which this draw came about was quite exciting. But let's get back to close to the beginning of. So Brighton could have had the lead early on, but Yankuba Mente's goal was disallowed. I think there was dissent, or there was some foul that happened early on in the game, and it was in the build up to the goal. But as the game went on, there were more appeals that actually came about. There were 2 appeals for Fulham where they could have had penalties, but those penalties were not given. And we also then had Brighton's chance where there was a penalty given, and Matt O'Reilly made no mistake, he scored the goal. And after that, Fulham kept on attacking, and Fulham were making sure that they could keep pressure on Brighton. The thing is that as the game kept on going on, after the Matt O'Reilly penalty, these 2 Fulham penalties that I spoke about, these 2 calls happened after his penalty, and after this, Fabian Herzler basically got his players to then drop deeper and find their space within the game, and then Brighton created more chance. Brighton then created a chance where Matoma got the ball towards Yankuba Minteh and he blazed it over the bar. There was even a chance from former MLS player Diego Gomez, former Inter Miami lad, and he had a shot that he almost deceived Bernd Leno from distance, and that could have given them the 2-1 lead. And then if you think that that was frustrating enough, actually it wouldn't have been 2-1, it would have been 2-0. But if you think that it was frustrating enough, it then got to the chance where Brian Gruder, the winger for Brighton, had a chance. I think it was the most clear-cut chances of all of these others, and he should have put the game beyond all doubt. He should have won it for Brighton there. It would have been 2-0, and even this late goal from Fulham wouldn't have helped, but he missed it, and things did not look like it was going to get any worse. It just seemed as if Brighton were going to be winning the game, and it seemed that they were just going to be defending until the end. And as we got to the end of the game, this is where things just got crazy. Emil Smith-Rowe went for a shot. Bart Verbruggen saved his shot, and it was out for a corner. And then Harry Wilson sent in the corner. He crossed it into the box. And if you think that his corner went in and got straight to one of his players, no it didn't. Lewis Dunk tried to clear the ball with a header, and unfortunately this ball landed at the feet of Rodrigo Muniz, who controlled the ball, and he put it in at the far post. And guess which side they did it at? Right in front of the away fans. And of course, Rodrigo Muniz had to get involved and jump into his fans. So unfortunately for Brighton, spoils were shared. If you're anywhere around my age, then this game would be exciting for you, as it was Sunderland's first game back in the Premier League since 2017. Now coming into this game, you would know that last season West Ham were having some end of season woes, and pre-season they didn't look that good, but at the same time I didn't expect them to be going down to Arsenal. Now if you had seen some of Arsenal's signings that they signed Granit Xhaka, obviously former Premier League player, played for Arsenal. He was quite a good midfield general, and I think it's probably one of the best players they could have brought in, and he's a great captain for their side. They also brought in Simon Adingra, former Brighton player, someone who also can change a game. But let's put all of that aside right now. Coming straight into this game, you would obviously expect West Ham to do the work, get the job done. Sunderland were just promoted, and signing a decent bunch of players won't always work out for your club. And for most of the first half, both sides had opportunities, but in terms of the whole game in general, West Ham had the most chances. They actually had about 67% of possession. Could be anywhere around there, but I do know they had possession in the 60s, and that is crazy. And whenever I see a team with that much possession losing a game, it reminds me of the time that Liverpool lost to Aston Villa, and I think they had close to 70% of possession, and Villa used their possession well, as did Sunderland in this encounter. So as much as both sides had their chances in the first half, the second half is where it heated up, specifically around the 60th minute. The thing that West Ham were not ready for was Sunderland's aerial threat. And the reason why I say that is because Eliezer Mayenda's 61st minute goal, as well as Dan Ballard's 73rd minute goal, were both headers. Isidore's goal that was assisted by Shamsuddin Talbi was one of those goals that came almost on the counter, and it was towards the end of the game. By that point, you can expect West Ham to have been absolutely depleted. But the main thing to look at here is the fact that this game seemed like it was going to head to West Ham, and Sunderland showed that they've actually got some sort of identity, and they could actually be someone that would be a force to be reckoned with in the season. Could they stay up? We know recently the teams who come up immediately go down, and it has been sad, but I do think that Sunderland are going to bring something different to the league this season, and I do think that the signings that they've made are going to be coming in clutch as the season goes on. Sunderland are definitely going to be a side that are going to be creating something from nothing, and I think it's going to be great to see where they do end. But West Ham are a team that I am quite worried about right now, but we'll see how they go as the season progresses. Now, if there was one man who wanted to impress the fans after the game against PSG, I'd say it was Richarlison, because he did have a chance in that game that could have been the difference had he scored it, and Spurs might have been Super Cup winners. So to get into the game, the first goal came in the 10th minute, but prior to that, former Newcastle United goalkeeper Martin Dubravka made his debut for Burnley today, and he was one of the first goalkeepers to be penalised for the new 8-second rule that was implemented with goalkeepers. To those of you who don't know how the rule works, if a goalkeeper has the ball in his hand for longer than 8 seconds, he is penalised and a corner is given to the side against them. Either way, the first goal came about when Mohamed Kudus and Richarlison linked up quite well, and he played a ball to Richarlison, who put the ball into the bottom corner. And when I saw this goal, I immediately thought the floodgates are about to be opened and Spurs are going to thrash Burnley. But that was not the case, though, as Burnley came into this game and they tried their best to actually take some chances. South African striker Lyle Foster had a chance, deflected away from Romero, the Spurs defender, and not long after, Maxime Esteve, as well as Laurent, the midfielder for Burnley, they both wasted chances. That was about as much that happened, and it went into the first half break at 1-0 to Spurs, and I think that it would have been one of those games where Burnley could have thought to themselves, you know what, we can come into the second half and go. And talking about Burnley being happy about their first half performance, they came into the second half and had 2 more chances, and guess what they did? They wasted them. And I think wasted chances have just been the absolute topic of this weekend in general. And wasting their chances is something that they would definitely regret, as just before the 60th minute, there was a play in the front. Spurs found a way through. Mohamed Kudus then got the ball, crossed it in for Richarlison to score his second, but not just a normal goal. He scored a spectacular scissor kick, and it's one that really can be watched over and over again. It was just that good. And speaking of Richarlison again, he got the ball to Pape Matar in the 66th minute, so 6 minutes after his goal. Matar then played the ball forward to Brennan Johnson, who took a touch and he put a classy finish past Martin Dubravka to give Dubravka probably one of those debuts that you would not want to have. 3 goals past him. Thomas Frank did continue to put some more players on. Matthijs Tal was given a chance. Dominic Solanke was also brought off the bench, and Solanke had a chance late in the game. He missed his shot, and the final score was 3-0 to Spurs. Unfortunately, it does seem as if Burnley could be in that same position that they were a few seasons ago, and we would hate to see. If there was a team where you could say the spotlight would be on them, it had to be Man City, especially after last season. Not just City, Haaland too. And in this game, KDB is obviously gone. He's at Napoli now, so City had to do it without him. Rodri still had a knock, so he's out of the squad for now, as well as Phil Foden. So it was pretty much a new look City, and it gave Guardiola a chance to look at his options and be a little bit more inventive with his other players. And someone who was definitely going to be looked at this season was Tijani Reinders. But let's get into the game. Wolves and City both had decent chances, but in the 34th minute, the man who people compare to an android, Erling Haaland, opened his account for the new season when he was assisted by Rico Lewis. And things got worse for Wolves as 3 minutes later, Tijani Reinders managed to score a goal on debut in the league when he was assisted by Oscar Bob. Now this is one that you want to remember for. So as the game went on, both sides did have chances, but the reason why I said remember Oscar Bob and Tijani Reinders' names together, they were linking up play so well, and the two of them just added another dimension to the City side. It just made you see something that City had in previous seasons, and I do think that this is going to give Haaland that boost in future games. So early on in the second half, I saw a lot of Reinders using his hands, and it's going to be something that could affect him in the league. As much as his ball skills are brilliant and his playing in general is something to behold, he does use his hands a lot, and it does show that he's not used to the Premier League, of course, joining from AC Milan, but he was moving around a lot. His hands got in the way at times, and it also led to him getting a yellow card in the 54th minute. And not long after this, in the 61st minute, Bob and Reinders were linking up play again. Haaland played the ball to Reinders, who played it to Bob. Reinders then found himself in space. The ball was played back to him. He ran until just before the byline. When Bob got the ball to him, he played it back immediately, and Haaland took like a first-time shot into the bottom corner. It was just an ultimate power shot. It just looked brilliant. He blasted it into the bottom corner. His second goal of the day. Reinders then collected a goal and an assist on debut, similar to what Ekitike did in Liverpool's game. And then to make matters worse for Wolves, City decided to bring on another new signing, Rayan Cherki, and he scored a goal on debut in the 81st minute. Wolves were drowning, but I do think that Haaland is back, and I think that City might just be back too. If there was ever a time for me to apologise, this would be it, and I have to apologise to none other than Chris Wood. The reason that I've got to apologise to Chris Wood is I did not believe that he would be scoring the way that he did last season, but to start off the season with 2 goals, especially against a side like Brentford, sure, they lost some key players, but it's still a very good Brentford side. Now this game was mostly one of those games where Nottingham Forest pretty much dominated Brentford, and Brentford had opportunities here and there, but I do think that Chris Wood's goal in the 5th minute set the tone of this game immediately. And then for things to get worse for Brentford, when Dan Ndoye scored his goal, assisted by Morgan Gibbs-White, who also recently came out and apologised to Thomas Frank. Apparently he personally contacted him regarding the move, because I think Spurs had matched his release clause and he was looking to go and join them, but then we know about him signing the contract and the little Marinakis interview. But in my opinion, Chris Wood getting that goal in the 5th minute was sort of what probably is going to be setting the tone for his season. The fact that he got that goal just, as I said, set the tone for the game. Ndoye's goal then going into halftime, the goal that he scored again, scoring his 2nd goal just before the half had ended. I mean, a brace in the first half is brilliant for a player of Chris Wood's caliber. I'm not saying that he's a bad player, he's a brilliant player, but he's one of those players who you could say weren't really expected to excel in the Premier League, and last season he proved all of his doubters wrong. He had a decent spell with Burnley, quite decent at Newcastle as well, but at Nottingham Forest, he's been phenomenal. But as the game went on, Brentford were trying to get back into it, but Forest were also stopping them. But I think when it got to about I could say close to the 60th minute, it was starting to look like an even encounter. And that's when Brentford were trying to get their opportunities. And then it came to the tackle that led to the penalty. It was one of those where, he tried to stop the man. He was the last man. Unfortunate to give away the penalty, but the penalty, of course, was one of those where I could say it was a clear penalty. Brentford then took their chance. Igor Thiago, the new signing, he came off the bench, if I remember correctly. But he came on and scored a goal on his debut. Signed from Botafogo. He was quite good at the Club World Cup as well. So it's going to be exciting to see what Brentford do under their new coach. Of course, this is a start that you could expect. Nottingham Forest ended the season a little bit inconsistent because they were in great form and they were looking at the Champions League spots, just missing out. But we'll see what happens as the season progresses. But definitely big things coming for Forest again. Now, if you were like me and you decided to watch this game over the Nottingham Forest game and had to watch the Nottingham Forest game later on, then you'd probably have been regretting it. Chelsea came into this game as Club World Cup winners. They were phenomenal on their run. One defeat, but everything changed after that. And João Pedro really showed that when he joined the club, he is going to be a beast. And I think Liam Delap himself also is going to be relatively decent for Chelsea. More as a backup striker. João Pedro will be the main guy, but it's going to be exciting to see what they will do once they are unleashed completely. Of course, youngster Esteval also made his debut, the Brazilian player, and he was great at the Club World Cup as well. And he even played against Chelsea. So it is going to be great to see what he does once he does click with his teammates and once everyone in the side clicks, because Chelsea have built quite a mammoth of a side in terms of skill level and just the all-round ability. Crystal Palace came into this game, of course, Community Shield winners, beating Liverpool on penalties, and in general, a really good side that I do think are going to have an even better season than they did last season. And although the bad news that they are going to be in the Europa Conference League, hopefully that works in their favour and they do have a good campaign there. But back to this game. All in all, this game was what I would call a ball fest. I didn't enjoy it. It was pretty much lackluster. The attacks from both teams, not lethal enough. It wasn't really something to write home about, and I don't think it's a game that I really enjoyed. It's probably my worst pick of the weekend. I would say this game would be 10th out of the best games here, falling into the last position. But I do think that both sides are going to come into the season and they are going to come in with a lot of heat. Chelsea themselves, I think Sanchez could have a good season. Same thing for Crystal Palace. Dean Henderson is going to have a decent season. Both of these keepers starting off the season with a clean sheet, albeit at the cost of each side just getting a point. They still have a perfect record coming into the season. Just seeing this game in general though, although it was disappointing, Chelsea are a side that do look like top 4 contenders for the season defensively, and I think attacking wise, as I said earlier, they are going to be a side that are going to come into it and they will have better attacks as the season goes on, and I think João Pedro is going to be an absolute weapon for them. Palace are definitely going to be decent, and I think Oliver Glasner's got something up his sleeve, but that's that for this. If there was ever a football performance where a team that lost the game deserved to win it, this is one of those. Manchester United played one of the best games that I've ever seen under the Amorim regime. The passing, the defense, the attack. The defense to attack, the transitioning itself was just phenomenal. Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, probably 2 of the best signings Manchester United could ever have made. Bruno playing in that deeper role at defensive mid alongside Casemiro, I think they were brilliant. Even when he had Ugarte next to him, also pretty good. But I do think that the youngster still got a bit to learn, and that is why United are looking at Pillay. I do believe that Baliba and Bruno could be the perfect DM pair just to control that back just before the defenders, and they could supply Mbeumo and Cunha with great balls. Cunha had some brilliant individual runs. His chances that he had also phenomenal. Even Patrick Dorgu's shot that went off the post. He was so confident, and he's getting so confident. His preseason was brilliant, and I think the form that he's bringing into the season is just proving that Patrick Dorgu is actually ready for this United side. And him out there at the left wing back position, he can defend and he can attack, and he is just what we needed. It's very much Patrice Evra-esque, and that is what I love about it, and I'm quite excited to see what is going to happen. Let's just talk about that goal though, the Calafiori goal. Was it a foul? Wasn't it a foul? On the keeper, with Bayender's arm sort of being held. Some people would say it was, some people would say it wasn't, and I think at the end of the day it's going to be at the referee's discretion, and it's something that we've got to respect. United were then caught lacking, and Calafiori put that goal away, but United dominated this game. Arsenal had a total of 9 shots. Mbeumo and Cunha had 9 shots alone. United took 22 shots in total, and there are really glimpses of what this team could be. Benjamin Sesko came on for half an hour. He wasn't getting the proper supply. I think Ahmad has got to stop cutting that much and finding other spots. I think they've got to play some early crosses the way that Dorgu does play, and we could see Sesko benefit from that. Of course, in the next game, his match fitness should be a little higher, and it could be a game where he gets more minutes than just half an hour. In defence, I think Matthijs de Ligt was pick of the defenders, brilliant at the back. But I've got to say, in general, this United team looks so good, and there are so many promising signs, and I'm excited because I think we are going to be having a massive turnaround this season, and let's see what happens. Oh, and in my opinion, that tackle on Cunha was a penalty. This was the last game for the game week, and it was newly promoted Leeds side taking on Everton. Now, if you saw Everton's pre-season, especially in the summer series against United, Bournemouth and West Ham, the only point they got in that summer series was a 2-2 draw with United, where United slipped up, and it wasn't a case of Everton being strong enough or really good. So despite Everton's bad pre-season, you wouldn't expect them to come into this game against newly promoted Leeds and lose this game. However, Leeds, on the other hand, phenomenal in the Championship, but we do know from past seasons, being in the Premier League, they'll be up for a bit and then they get relegated. So hopefully this was a good start that will lead to even bigger things for the side. Now, Everton in general, they've just not been good enough, and they were unfortunate in this game because they were defending pretty well because Leeds were attacking, and then the controversial call came that led to this penalty. A shot was taken from out the box. Tarkowski was down and he turned, but his arm was tucked in enough, and unfortunately the ball came off his arm. But it was a rather tame shot where I think that Pickford would have saved it. But I personally do not think that it was a handball. A lot of pundits have said that they do not feel that it was a handball. But as I said in the earlier part with United and the Arsenal game, every challenge, every tackle or goal, etc., could be subjective to the referee or the VAR team of the day. And unfortunately, I do think that James Tarkowski was unfortunate, but I do think that it was against the run of play. It's what the referee saw. It's what VAR saw. The penalty was given. Lucas Mecha, on debut, slotted it home, gave Leeds United the 3 points. And I do think that Everton will bounce back from this. They've got to just get gelled in. Jack Grealish made his debut. Not really something to write home about. Everton in general, they've made some decent signings. Dewsbury Hall as well, joining them. But I do think that these signings have to just mix in with what the team already has, and that could possibly then make them a lot stronger. But unfortunately, they fall into Leeds United. Leeds United take advantage of that. Whether or not it was a penalty, they got the penalty, they scored it, they took the 3 points, and that is currently all that matters. These 3 points, although it's just the first game of the season, they could be crucial on the later side of. After game week 1, the players with the most assists are Mohamed Kudus in first place with 2 assists. Shamsuddin Dalby and Hugo Ekitike tie in that second place with 1 assist each. And then in goal scorers, the top ones are tied in first place. Chris Wood, Antoine Semenyo and Erling Haaland, all on 2 goals apiece after grabbing a brace each in game week 1. After game week 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers are in 20th place on 0 points with a goal difference of -4. West Ham are on 0 points in 19th place with a goal difference of -3. Burnley also on -3, goal difference, 0 points, and in 18th place, rounding off the relegation places. 17th place is Brentford, 0 points, a -2 goal difference. Bournemouth in 16th, -2 goal difference, 0 points. Manchester United in 15th, -1 goal difference, 0 points. Everton in 14th, -1 goal difference, 0 points. Newcastle in 13th place, 1 point, 0 goal difference. Crystal Palace in 12th place, 1 point, 0 goal difference. In 11th place, Chelsea, 1 point, 0 goal difference. 10th place is Aston Villa, 1 point, 0 goal difference. Fulham in 9th place with 1 point, 0 goal difference. Brighton in 8th place, 1 point and 0 goal difference. And that ends off the teams on draws. 7th place sees Leeds United, 3 points, 1 goal difference. 6th place sees Arsenal, 3 points, 1 goal difference. Nottingham Forest in 5th place with 3 points, 2 goal difference. Liverpool in 4th place with 3 points, 2 goal difference. Spurs in 3rd place with 3 points, 3 goal difference. Sunderland in 2nd place, 3 points and 3 goal difference. And Man City at the top with a goal difference of 4 and 3 points to their name. That's it for game week 1. If you've made it this far into the video, comment Chris Wood with a fire emoji next to his name, and let's see how many people are going to do that now. If you enjoyed this opening week of football as much as I did, feel free to drop your favorite team of the weekend down below. Also, feel free to tell us what your favorite game was, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you're new and you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe. We're currently on the road to 500 subscribers, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. I'll see you after game week 2. As always, thanks for watching.